My name is John Jacob. I'm the General Secretary of AGSI, the Association of Garda Sergeants and Inspectors. This year at AGMs, we heard stories from right across the organisation on how day-to-day routine activities are impacting on members' lives. So we have asked a number of our colleagues to share their stories with us here at conference today, with a view to informing not just you, the members, who are familiar with what happens on a day-to-day basis, but the public and the media who will listen to us and hear what we have to say.
Michael Walsh is my name. I'm a Garda Sergeant based in Mill Street Garda Station in Galway City. It was a night that I'll never forget. I was working the late shift, which was 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And just as we're kind of the changeover shift at 11 p.m, word came in, or a call came in, that there was a car fire on the west side of the Galway City, and that the fire brigade were there, and that there was a body in the car. I said, look, I'll stay on for a while just to give them a bit of assistance. I'm conscious of it's a fairly horrific scene, you know, a body burnt in a car. I can still visualise it, you know, and I've 25 years service in Garda Síochána. I've seen lots of dead bodies, but this one specifically stands out as quite horrific. I'm conscious of, as I said, the young members. It's probably their first time in a lot of cases. I know there was at least 2 probationary Gardaí there who were no more than 10 weeks in Garda Síochána. It's probably the first dead body they've seen. We had no sooner kind of finished with that particular incident than another call came in about another dead body where a man potentially had fell and banged his head. Again, it looked like an accidental fall, but every case has to be, I suppose, individually investigated and all of the facts brought to the fore. Shortly after that, there was a call about a man had attempted to hang himself in his house, and we'd sent a unit to that. A short time later, there was another call about a man had tried to hang himself down near the train line in Galway City. Shortly after that, there was a call about a girl had taken her own life, or potentially taken her own life, at a house party. This was about 4 or 5 in the morning. Gardaí went to the scene. At this stage, nobody had even got a break. You know, we're going since, potentially I've gone since 3 p.m, but from the crew that started at 11 p.m, this is 4 a.m, nobody got a break. So that's a kind of, I suppose, an introduction to the night we had. It was just one after another. As I said, you had both young members, you had experienced members who were just traumatised by what they'd witnessed on one night. I think we're in an era where welfare, the whole area of mindfulness, awareness of stress and things like that are to the fore. We're not afraid to speak about it, but we do need those services, and I think we need them sooner rather than later. But I would like if that service was available, or at least something for a hot debrief, as I say, at the Garda station post an event. Nobody will dispute what the unit went through on the night was traumatic. Nobody can dispute that. And if something is that traumatic, and it's not that any particular incident was overly traumatic, we deal with them on a daily basis. I think it was the sheer number of them. Potentially there was 5 or 6 dead bodies one night. It was just call after call, limited resources, lack of doctors. It's the combination of all that that stressed everybody. So I think we do need something that, you know, a service that can come in and speak to people. They don't have to listen, but when it's put in front of them, they will use it. Like, I had sleepless nights following that night. You'd be at home, you close your eyes, you think of a loved one who may have passed away in the past when you're thinking about dead bodies. Think of my daughter who's asleep downstairs in bed and say, what's ahead of me when she reaches her 20s? And the job that we do in the Garda Síochána, we deal with human life on a daily and nightly basis. But at the end of the day, we are human beings too. And it does take its toll on us. And we shouldn't be afraid to reach out and avail of those. There are excellent services. We don't avail of them enough.
My name is David Hockney, and I'm a sergeant, and I'm stationed in Middleton, County Cork. I was out on a patrol car. We came across 2 guys that we know quite well, and while dealing with them, and we saw up ahead a car pull in, and it seemed to react to us being there. They were well known to us and decided to check them out, but as soon as we started to do that, they came back, but this time with stones, just without warning. I remember getting this thud in the head. First things I can remember when I came to a little bit was the pain, and as it turned out, I had a fractured skull and the eye socket fractured as well. My eye was so swollen that it was wedged shut. I have a reduction of about 75% in vision. From the outset, I felt understood, appreciated, and very much supported. People constantly supported, constantly rang, looking, are you okay? Do you want to go out for coffee? And again, those kind of things I think matter more. You can go to counselling, which I did, and that was good. But it's individuals that you know and see every day. It's when they help out and support you. You can't put a price on how good and how valuable that is. I would like to think that the experience I've had in terms of how I was supported at every stage, during the incident, after the incident, my recuperation, my return to work, my continuing at work, would be exactly what the job could consider as a blueprint of how to proceed.
My name is Conor DeMartin. I'm a Detective Sergeant with the Garda National Cybercrime Bureau. Well, this all started or began the series of cyberbullying against me, where I'm a victim, and it began back probably around 2010. It started in the form of websites purely dedicated to me that were highlighted saying Sergeant Conor DeMartin is corrupt and evil was the title of it, and it went on to say various things, that the Gardaí in Shankill were corrupt and that they were telling lies before the courts, and got that removed. And there was another one then that had popped up on another site. It had been on as Sergeant Conor Gilmartin attached to Shankill Garda Station, and there would be people coming on, the same person probably, behind these other ones as well. And he put up his name and say, like, you know, that he was complaining to the Garda Ombudsman in relation to Gardaí from Shankill, that I was corrupt, and it totaled, I think, something like 54 pages of content. He didn't get the result he wanted from the Garda Ombudsman, in that anything that he complained of, they were investigated and they were all found to be without foundation. Even one in particular charge or allegation that ended up was something that could be proved that he had actually lied, but it's stressful. And even you can never get rid of it, because anything that's up on the internet can be searched. Even though some of it's gone, I can still see every website as it was whenever. I had people who heard me out, and I reported it up through the channels along the lines of being a health and safety issue. Myself, my colleagues are being victimised here by this person, and there's very little seems that we can do about it. It still goes on, and I mean, certainly even coming over here today to speak about it is stressful. I'd rather not speak about it. It's kind of something that I feel as though I want to put behind me. I can look up the internet and I can still see it's there. It'll always be there.
My name is Tim Galvin. I'm stationed in Dún Laoghaire. I'm a sergeant and have been a sergeant for 14 years, and I'm a member of the DMR East branch of AGSI. We've always seen issues with mental health in the Guards, but we've always looked after each other. We have 24/7 counselling, thankfully, which was introduced, but we don't know what the uptake, because there's a stigma admitting that you have a mental health problem within An Garda Síochána, and there always has been. In my own division, we had the fire in Carrickmines, where 10 people were killed, 5 adults and 5 children, and the trauma of being involved in that incident. Over the long-term mental health of all the people involved. People are still having issues over it, because it's a serious incident to go to. They are the sort of things that, you know, we have to deal with. You read in the papers every day, murders, stabbings, you know, serious incidents. Most people can deal with it, but there are people that just, they need help, and they need help urgently. And they're the sort of things that I think we're falling down in. And we don't know what the mental stress of most of our members are. People with 2 years or just over or less service, they're going to all of these incidents, but there's no supervision for them, because I'm in the station. I'm not out with them. So I don't know what their reaction is. It might be 48 hours before I'll see that reaction, because I'm not there. And for something like that, if there's a traumatic incident, you need to be there to see how people are reacting, because then you know you have to deal with it automatically. As far as I'm concerned, and that's both as a sergeant and as an AGSI rep, Garda management have no idea about the stresses that are going on, because if they did, we would have the service up and running and doing it. We'd be doing it properly. We'd have well-being, and we'd have systems in place where people can go and seek help without having the stigma that's attached to it. And if I go back to the Carrymines incident, for example, the ambulance crews, the emergency services, the ambulance crews, the fire brigades, they had psychologists and psychiatrists at the location. We had nobody. And that's where our organisation has fallen down. And maybe at conference you might get the 170 delegates airing how they feel and the stress that they're under. And maybe somebody might sit up and say, oh wow, they are under pressure. Maybe somebody might realise that we're not just people that talk. We are family people, we're fathers, we're sons, we're nephews, nieces, what a grandfather for some of us. We are people of the society, and we do a job that's completely different than anybody else. We don't run away from incidents, we go straight at them.